Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Trip. We are X.T.C. I'm Shalonda.
I'm Tristan.
I'm Chris.
As an entrepreneur starting and growing your business, you may have a destination, but the journey getting there can be a trip. We want to be your travel companions and inject a dose of X.T.C. as we explore real life conversations about navigating the world of entrepreneurship in the U.S. and in the Caribbean. Today, I am so deeply honored to have our guest, our king. And before I let him talk, let me just drop a little bit of tea about our guest today, Warren Mitchell. He has over 30 years of experience working with youth, families, and adults who are emotionally and spiritually distressed. He is the CEO of his private practice, Journey of Self-Discovery, in Georgia, where he provides services as a clinical therapist, life coach, spiritual guide, and clinical supervisor. Now, Warren comes qualified. He has a bachelor's degree in psychology from Crucian University and earned his master's of social work with a concentration in administration from the University of Pittsburgh. Warren has developed a model that supports people, groups, and businesses to operate authentically, especially during times of crisis, by taking ownership of the responsibility of their lives and their businesses. Now, for my Crucian people, them, okay? Warren, Warren
Yes,
is a
yes.
Crucian from
Yeah,
Crucian.
no, yes.
He is a brother. How you doing, Warren? We're so happy to have you on the show.
Hey, thank you all for having me. It is an honor and a privilege to just be here to share my experiences, especially with fellow Caribbean and Virgin Islanders. Yes, man. Done.
Yes. Listen, when you from the island, you could leave the island, you could consider yourself part of the Caribbean diaspora, but home is always home. So
That's right. That's
we
right.
were what people them, and we've adopted Chris. So we're not
Yes.
leaving Chris out. Chris gonna be honorary Crucian before the end of this podcast launch.
I hear how he call your name. I hear him say Shalanda. I'm like, what?
He's learned about intonation in a Crucian dialect. So
Thank you.
yes.
I try.
Yeah. So for this season, with this series, we're really talking about the mindset and motivation of being an entrepreneur today. And as a life coach and spiritual guide and a clinical therapist who is also an entrepreneur, we thought you were more than qualified to talk about this topic.
Okay.
So we've recorded in our three previous podcasts about whether entrepreneurs are made or born. We've talked about the internal struggles, the motivations, and the mindsets of being an entrepreneur. And then we talked about external factors such as looking at market feasibility and doing business plans and stuff like that. So, Warren,
Yes.
share with us some nuggets that you think are important when thinking about mindset and motivation of being an entrepreneur.
Oh wow. There's I guess a few. A mindset should be someone who is not expecting to have immediate success. Someone who's in this for the long haul, and has the support to be able to help for the long haul. Because doing this by yourself, it can be pretty difficult. Some lonely days, and especially if you have a family. You need to make sure you have the support, because entrepreneurship, there's no insurance and so many things that can afford you to take a break. So my wife, she had that and helped me to be able to focus on doing that. A mindset to be able to tolerate the beginnings of the challenges that some people just want to jump in and start. Sometimes you have to deal with a job that you don't like that helps you to sustain your livelihood while you are slowly beginning on working on your passion and what you're interested in, and being
Mhm.
mindful to not neglect that main job while you are entertaining your passions. Sometimes some of us can do that, and
Mhm.
so being knowledgeable as to when um, to jump off, and having again the right set of people around you for guidance. And so
Mhm.
being open to receiving information, to receiving guidance. Don't think just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean that somebody else can't provide you with some education and guidance.
Yep. Yep.
Those are all golden
That seemed to resonate
nuggets.
with you guys.
Yeah.
That resonate. I see the body language.
Yeah.
Tristan, what are you saying? What are you saying?
Man, I was saying a lot, a lot, a lot. And again, like I spoke about this a little while back, but it's the fact that you can't avoid it. Everything keeps coming full circle. And I just want to share with us really quickly, and it's a concept of truth, right? So we look at it as perception, sometimes because your truth might not be my truth.
Mm.
However, the truth is the truth. It's full body. It will always keep coming forward. So if you ask the guy the story, if he's lying, the story continuously changes, continuously changing because there's new information, right? And I just want to share our truth with this. And our truth is the fact that we keep having these discussions and it keeps coming up. So Warren spoke about the when, right?
Mhm.
He mentioned network. You see what I'm saying? He mentioned endurance. The support was the network. And these are just like the takeaways that it hasn't even been 5 minutes yet. And I'm like, oh wait, he's been here for everybody.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how
Yeah.
many I really want to pro. Like, what do I want to ask him? And that's just it. Like it's really resonating. It's really hitting home with the fact that the same things that we've been saying. We brought on a guest, no praying, and he's still saying the same things that we've said. You
Right.
know, and that it goes to we're not on this trip alone. We look at everybody else and say, man, they're moving forward. They're doing this. They're doing that. And I don't have it. I'm running out of gas. Well, guess what? We're running out of gas too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're not better than anybody else. It's a community where we're just sharing the information that we have. That it keeps coming full circle. You're gonna hear a lot of information that seem like it's redundant, but from different perspectives because this is what really hits home. It
Right.
really hits home. So I'm gonna just get off my stool for a minute. I don't know who to toss to. If I'm tossing to Chris, if I'm going to Solana, like it. I'm just really happy that he's saying what we said.
I'll toss it to myself here, actually.
This is gonna crack it.
All right.
I think, well, first of all, again, everything you said was kind of reiterating what we had already talked about in our previous podcast. So clearly you are living this as well in your own experience, in your own journey,
Right.
and seeing it in others as well. I think the thing that really stuck out to me was you mentioning that no matter how passionate you are about a subject, that doesn't mean that you can't learn
Mhm.
from others or take something from somebody else's opinion.
That's right.
And so I think the one thing I just like to say to that, I think as entrepreneurs, you have to have that kind of like that steadfast, that vision, that unwavering path.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that focus needs to be on finding the solution
Right.
and not on your idea of what that solution necessarily is.
That's right. That's right.
Because ultimately our goal is to, in getting into business, is to help others,
Mm-hmm.
make the world a better place, provide for our family.
Right.
And in doing that, we just have to be cognizant of knowing that we are not the only ones who have ideas and that our ideas may be best
Right.
with the input of others. So I just
That's
appreciate you bringing that to the table.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
You're welcome.
I got one quick question. Warren, you said something that I'm not comfortable with,
Okay.
and that's because I heard it before. right?
Okay.
When I was thinking about starting this business, the one thing I never really told you guys about is that I have an aunt. She does like taxes and stuff like that. I think I did tell you guys she does taxes and stuff like that. And she said something that Warren said. I have here about like the jobs you don't like, but she encouraged me to, I guess, start a job, do your job in I don't want to say what it is I don't like. She encouraged me to take a job in video production. I guess is to learn as much as I can. So in that way, when I decide to venture out, I would have that knowledge to kind of build my basis. Now, the reason why I said it didn't make me comfortable is because then when she said it, I was like, so why I just can't do it? I want it. Why I can't just do what I want, what I'm feeling? Goes to part of the passion that Chris just touched on. Because I might be passionate about something, that doesn't mean that I'm good at it.
Right.
So I just wanted to see what your take was or your take is on just doing that job first before necessarily starting business.
Yeah, I think working for somebody else who is probably in the field that you're in or doing a job that's helping you to do the job that you want to do for yourself, you can get more insights during that job and seeing how that person developed and learning from that instead of you having to reinvent the wheel and jumping and starting and costing you a whole lot of money. Now you're getting paid to learn things and make mistakes and be on the job. And it's where as an entrepreneur, you are making mistakes, but you're also paying for it. So it's not coming back to you right away, not right now. Maybe later on, the mistakes will be lessons that you can build on. But if you're working for someone else in a job, they have either made those mistakes themselves, have found answers that you can learn from and get that idea and more easily implement when you start off doing your own thing. So I think it's important to not neglect or reduce the significance of working for someone, supporting someone on their journey. Because when you grow, you're going to want people to support you. You're going to want people to work for you who are passionate and dedicated, that even if they have their own thing that they want to do, they're going to put that same emphasis into your business. And so and I like to send it just a little bit. One way to get people who are working for you, or if you're working for someone else, to get more passionate about the job you do, see that job position as your business, as your entrepreneurial business. That your job title, that's my business. I'm going to run this as if it's mine, and I'm going to let whoever that I'm working for see that I care about this, and hopefully they will recognize the work and the energy that I'm putting into it, and that will benefit me, somewhere else. But don't just see a job you're working for somebody else as just a job. It is your business. There's things you're going to learn, the things you're going to learn about that you can take with you when you leave. That passion will then carry over. And you can hit the ground running because you have a mindset already while you were working for someone else to take your job seriously.
If I could jump in there, because you're touching on a lot of little points that I think are worthy of highlighting in this conversation. We've talked a lot about being an entrepreneur, and we've made comparisons about being in a job and working for an entrepreneur. And to your point, Warren, being in a job and learning from somebody else who may be going on that journey is valuable training wheels for you
Right.
before you launch out on your own. The thing I like to highlight in this conversation is whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're in a job preparing to be an entrepreneur, your personal brand, your reputation,
That's
and the
right.
level of quality that you bring to whether it is a job or your business is going to determine your success
That's right, Queen.
as an entrepreneur. And here's a case in point. Three are we on this platform, minus Chris, from St. Croix, right? I met Tristan in St. Croix. We worked on projects together, produced high quality. People would assume that I know Warren because Warren is also from St. Croix. Not the case. I was on LinkedIn, and my sister and my friends tease me because they're like, "You always on LinkedIn. What about Facebook?" I'm like, "Watch now, yo. Facebook is for friends and family. LinkedIn is to build my social capital,
Mm. Hmm.
right?" Social
Right.
capital is another topic we could touch on a little bit because that's something that entrepreneurs need, right? But I met Warren on LinkedIn. And how did I meet Warren on LinkedIn? I'm reading what's coming up in my feed, and I see this gentleman in a VI mixed shot. So I had to stop, right? Just the picture alone. Wait, VI mix. Who this person be? And then the content of his post and the articulation of his perception of being in a river in Africa where slaves that were transported from their homeland across the Middle Passage through the Caribbean had to travel. And
Right.
just the authenticity and the passion really just was like a dagger in my heart.
Mm.
That's his brand. That's his essence.
Right.
That's what caught my attention. So I was like, my son, I need to know this dude.
Yeah.
I need to know this gentleman. He's from the Virgin Islands. And
Yeah.
truth be told, I was like, he probably from St. Thomas until we sat down and we talked. And I said, but Warren, where exactly are you from? Because we're using our standard English because we're in a professional. And he's like, I'm from Grove. I was like, you from Grove? Oh, so we could break it down now. We can
Yeah.
break it down.
Yeah.
Raw conversation. But to your point, your brand, whether you're in a job or you have a business, is going to be presented to people before people even get to know you.
That's right. That's
And
right.
that is part of that entrepreneurial mindset,
Right.
you know?
And I think, and that's why we have to be so careful, even on the friends and family. To me, how I look at it, friends and family, social media, that my brand for me carries me over, that I'm consistent. My professionalism and what I
Mm-hmm.
tell my clients is how I
Yep.
live my life.
Right.
So I don't say one thing one area and in another area you see me in another way. So I also do,
Right.
one of the things that is shunned in my field as a therapist is don't have clients on your social media network, and I can understand that. But coming from the
Mm-hmm.
islands, for me, when I started working at home at Catholic with Catholic charities or Catholic social services at that time, like some of the clients that came in, I saw them at other times when I'm hanging out at Sunny Isles or doing something at some festival or something else. So it was that village mentality for me. And so that kept me in check, that I have to make sure that I'm living my life in the way that I
Right.
should, because you never know who's watching and all that. So I take that same concept in social media. Not all my clients, not even most of my clients have my social media, but some of them do. And I want them to see that I'm living what I'm teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's important that our brand is not just something we have in a business. The essence of the business is the culture, the values of what we're about. We carry it into other areas of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
I
an
just like the
entrepreneurial mindset, though. Go ahead, Chris. I'm gonna let you.
yeah, no, I think we were talking about Warren. That's really interesting. Is I was just reading recently, and the difference basically between your reputation and your character.
Mm,
And your character is who you truly are.
right,
Your reputation is who people think you are,
right,
but your
right,
character will prevent you, will save you from a miss or a tarnished reputation.
right, right,
Because other
like that,
people will come and say like, no, that's not who, that's not who Chris is, or that's not who
right,
Warren is.
right.
The other thing I think that was really important, that right before we started recording this podcast, and Shalonda was introducing Warren to Tristan and I, and she said that one of her favorite things about Warren is that he greets everybody on the island as either queen or king. And that and how, and Shalonda mentioned how good that makes her feel, and she's like, oh, I need my my dose of Warren. uh, but Warren, you're talking about, getting people to buy into your vision, and
Right.
and as a leader or as an entrepreneur, to get people, whether it's your customers or potential employees or what have you, without that character and without acknowledging people and making people feel that way. There's a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Influence people.
Dale
Mhm.
Carnegie, and how you make people feel is oftentimes far more important than what you actually know about the subject.
That's right. That's right.
And so I just want to, say kudos to you, and let the audience know that, because we had recorded that just previously here, that clearly Warren's how he handles himself or how he handles others makes people feel a certain way or a positive way. And I think that's more of an intangible in entrepreneurship than actually having the technical know-how, is if you
That's
know
right.
how to manage the people that are going to be looking at your idea and living and breathing it. So
For sure. For sure. Well said. Mhm.
Yep. Yep.
What I was
So
gonna say about
okay.
hold on,
go
I
ahead.
was gonna say really quick about the mindset is I like the fact that's to me what brings it home too is how Warren speak about holding your position as it's your position, as it's your business. I find like a lot of times like we don't treat these positions like that. You see what I'm saying? It's just people just look at it as a job, something that I'm just doing. Job to me, the acronym is really journey onto brokenness because it's just a cycle that you fulfill, you know,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to this is what it is that I'm doing. I'm trying to learn as much. And I had a supervisor recently passed, and with Warren speaking, it resonated this one point that we always used to speak about, and it was like fable about the Great Wall of China.
Hmm.
The guy that set out to do the Great Wall of China never said I was going to build the Great Wall of China. What he said is that I'm going to lay each brick to the best of my ability. So by the time he was finished, he never said the wall was great, but people said and called it the Great Wall of China because you work to the best of your ability. And that's one of the things like this supervisor, we would butt heads every day, would argue every day, but we respected each other a lot. And it was just a lot of these building blocks that I would always take away from what it is that he said. And I don't look at him as really an entrepreneur. At the same time, he was somebody that you could definitely learn from in that kind of way. So, to Warren's point, to me, it's again when you treat and you do the work to the best of your ability,
That's
in
right.
that kind of way, and make sure you always approach it from the standpoint that you're learning and not that you know everything within that area. We have no other choice but to flourish.
Very good.
So Warren, I'm interested. I'm a little curious. How did
Mhm.
you decide to start your own private practice? And
How
what would you say are some of the key motivators for starting your business?
I when I came into this field, I knew I wanted to do counseling. I thought I wanted to do a nonprofit, so I
Mhm.
could have different programs. So mainly youth was my focus at that time. And because when I was growing up, well, when I was in undergrad, my first undergrad at DeVry, I went through so much, and I didn't have anybody there for me to help me understand
Mhm.
what I was going through or prepare me for college. And I decided when I was going through, and I got real depressed. Um, I decided like I want to be there for young people to help them through this. And committed to God, to give my life to God. And it was like, you help me through this, and I promise I'm going to help, because I was mentally out of it and even suicidal at one point. And
Mm.
I got to this place like, help me out of this. And I promised to give my life to serving young people and helping them. So I went back home. I was in Atlanta at that time. I went back home to St. Croix. I got involved in youth ministry at St. Anne's and working with young people. And in working with young people, I also saw the older folks, like their parents and others, that they had problems too.
Mhm.
And realized a lot of reasons why young people have problems is because their parents have problems that they never resolved from their own youth. And
Mhm.
realize that if I'm going to really help young people, I need to help their parents. And I started focusing more on adults. So I went back to school because my first round of college was electronic engineering. And then
Mhm.
when I went through what I went through, I went back to Franciscan University and studied psychology, and got my bachelor's there. And as you pointed out earlier, my master's at University of Pittsburgh in social work. And because I believe I had a gift learning from my work at St. Anne's, I had a gift with counseling. I'm like, I don't want to study that. I want to study something. Since I'm going to start my own business, I want to know more about administration and how to run it. And so that's why I concentrated in administration. And so when I graduated from there and got into the field, it was mainly working with youth and all of that, but it's continued to reinforce the parents need a lot of help. And so
Mhm.
I tried starting the nonprofit, and it was trouble trying to just get grants. And in my reading, it was easier to start a for-profit as an LLC.
Mhm.
And so when I realized what I had to do with that, and there was not much to be done. And so
Mhm.
eventually, after working, moved to Atlanta. This was in Baltimore when I first started working after at grad school, and moved to Atlanta. I worked for a couple other agencies, and I was just frustrated with the system, and I didn't feel free to do the work in the way that I know it can be done. I'm kind of
Mhm.
orthodox in the way I do this work, and being bounded by certain policies keep me back from freely allowing my gift to flow. And so it motivated me after the last agency I was working for closed down, to start that process. It was a struggle, because I wasn't making money as much. It was hit and miss there, so I had to go find another job. And people were telling me, "You are a black male with a license in Atlanta area. You're a hot commodity." But nobody was hiring. I'm too experienced, and all that stuff I'm hearing. So I finally had to accept a job as an administrative assistant for a program that works with young people, and
Mhm.
felt humiliated. Maybe humiliated is not the word. Humbled,
Mhm.
that I was doing that, and I am being an executive administrator, or executive assistant rather, to someone who was a program director. And but I learned from that, from just felt like God was telling me, be the best you that you can be in this space. And
Mhm.
give it, just like I said before, make your position your business. So instead
Yep.
of letting your job be out to broke, you can your job on to business. And so it's two things.
Yes.
Right, business. I'll give you that. I'll
Job
give you
on
that.
to
Your
build.
business, yes,
Job
yes,
on
that's
business.
and
Yes.
so that's what I did. I used to send out encouraging emails to the staff. Um, I wasn't supervising them, but I know they were struggling. But it's what I would have
Mhm.
done. And if I was a therapist working with my clients, I am the one who's licensed. Most of them are not. I'm providing some supervision for them, and they're in a higher position than I am. And so it's part of the humility, and but being the best me that I can be, no matter what position that I am in. Then that really helped me to continue to build. I got a contract to work with adults in a pretrial diversion program. I was one of four, then I became one of three, and then one of two. Then I became the only one, and I just grew. And I couldn't have my full-time job and my full-time business at the same time, and I had to leave. Was finally after 18 months, leave the full-time and onto my own, and I've been here 15 years now.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. So you're in that, what, 25 percentile that survives the first 3 to 5 years, survive the first 10 years, and going to the, yeah, because in a previous podcast, we shared those statistics. And, when as a new entrepreneur that may be, a novice in this journey, those statistics are daunting,
Right.
right? Because it's like, okay, I'm pouring my heart, sweat, and tears into this baby business,
Mm-hmm.
and the stats are working against me.
Right.
So, what would you say were three top critical um, things that have helped you in your longevity as an entrepreneur?
Really knowing what my passion and purpose was. You know,
Mm.
that was important for me to have my job be my passion, and it also was my purpose. Not everybody's passion will be their job, or even purpose, or not everybody's purpose will be their job. What their calling might be. Some people's calling is something that they do on a voluntary basis, but they have this job because they have to take care of themselves and their family. So a lot of people tend to think that their calling has to be their job. It doesn't. For me, I wanted it to be, and so I pursued a career that was something I was passionate about, and a lot of people who are working in their passion is because they have gone through some stuff that it's personal. So when I went through my own mental health challenges and didn't have anybody there for me, it finally opened up. But when I take a look back, and I look back at my years growing up and being shy and all that kind of stuff, I realized I always listened to other people. Didn't know about advice and how to get, but I was a good listener. So I could sense, when I look back, there were traits of my calling that was there. I just didn't know. I didn't notice it before, right? And so I think if we pay attention to what we are going through, we will see traits of what that calling is a lot of times. And we go through an experience to awaken us to what that is. So going back to your question with three things: the passion, and knowing what that was, having a partner who was supportive, or who believed in it as well. Because I couldn't do that without my wife being a part of this process. It would be a struggle, and having three kids and doing that. And so, and then being that I made it for me, it wasn't a job. It was my way of life, like I talked about before. This is something I vibe in this way when I communicate with my friends. When my friends come talk to me, or if they come talk to me about anything, what I teach my clients, I teach them. How I live my clients, I live it with my friends and with my family. So being that this was an all-encompassing, it was all in alignment with the flow of who I believe that I am, and God called me to. It was so easy to do it. So going through the hard times isn't so hard. And so I just, like, when I don't see myself doing this, I don't see myself being anywhere else and doing anything else. Like, what else is there to do? It's going anything else that branches off of this has to do with something with helping people to take ownership of their lives and well-being.
Beautiful.
Listen, as a can I just say this real quick?
Go ahead.
As a PhD candidate studying work passion, that's exactly what I think is going to help entrepreneurs in longevity of their business, is that passion. You had a partner, right? But having a support system. I don't have a partner.
Well,
This is not an ad. This is not a dating ad, people. But I do have partners in my life that are supporting my entrepreneurial journey, who are friends and colleagues and mentors and all of that stuff. Going back to that social capital that we were talking about a little bit earlier. And then just making it a way of life, living authentically, operating your business authentically, right? Are what are critical ingredients is to not only starting your businessing, but being able to run them and make sure that they're sustainable. So I toss it to you, Tristan.
Man, that's beautiful. You're always a tough act to follow. And I want to point out just a couple things. I couldn't help myself but to stop clapping on Warren, because you just brought a couple things on home really quickly. One, how you send the emails out to the staff, right? We had a conversation about feasibilities and studies, and sometimes it's just the ingenuity of just wanting to do something because it feels right, and not necessarily having to wait for research or something to tell you that you should be doing it. I mean, Chris, clap it up for him on that. Like, I definitely appreciate that. That is, those are the simple things in life that people remember. You see what I'm saying? So that was one. I had the Steve Jobs email. Two, it's crazy as an entrepreneur because the one thing we do is find a reason, right? Find a way to do what it is that we want to do. So you knew what your passion was, right?
Right.
And we acknowledge what it is we know we want to do. But we found the tokens, the things we knew we weren't good at, the part that we knew that we had to study. So you know this is what it is you wanted to do. And then you took that curve. You was like, all right, we ain't hitting this way. Check
Right.
this out.
Mhm.
I'm gonna study the business administrative part because I know that I'm passionate enough to make this work. But what I might not know is how to sustain it.
Right. Very
Mhm.
good.
Entrepreneurial steps, the mindset and motivation. So because you had your passion motivated you to pivot in a different direction to strengthen the foundation to accomplish what it is that we truly want. What else? So I want to come on, man. I think you're talking to follow, and you're talking to follow. So it goes with we spoke about nature versus nurture, right?
Right.
And you're talking like your characteristics, your traits. You listen, and that's we spoke about this before too, where like sometimes being from the Caribbean, like we just don't know certain things. But the one thing that I feel we do very well is listen. When
Mm.
you listen, you get your earring, you get everything else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what it is that we do. We listen and we're able to discern, start to pull certain key gems from what it is that we
Right.
hear. Like, oh, okay, wait. So Warren did this didn't really work out. You know what? Boom. Maybe I need to be doing this. So nobody had to tell us the right thing to do
Yeah.
because we're always listening because we're sharing information. Unlike most entrepreneurs, we feel we're in it alone. Sometimes we're just not listening to other entrepreneurs telling us what it is that they endured.
Right.
Solana call it longevity. I keep calling it endurance. And that's what
Endurance.
it is. Because it's a race of endurance. And I appreciate your success, right?
Thank you.
But I just want to share to me the most important part is your failure, right? And this perspective, because I kind of see the look at your face like failure. We didn't quite.
Oh
The
no. Yeah.
nonprofit. You see what I'm saying? The
Right.
nonprofit, like we would look at Warren and be like, damn, he's successful at what it is that he's doing. But what I'm appreciative for is the fact that when you ran into that stump with the nonprofit, it failed and we just
Right.
pivoted. You see
Right.
what I'm saying? And that's I don't want to say the true essence of an entrepreneur. Endurance isn't the fact that, oh, I'm just gonna be in this for the long haul. It's when
Right.
we run into these points, these challenges. Sometimes we have to accept the fact that life just told us you gotta pivot. You
Right.
see what I'm saying? I'm
That's right.
in here and I really want to go this way and I can't go this way, right? There's a way around it.
Right.
It's
It's
gonna
another
take
way.
us longer, but if this is what it is that we really, really want, no longer how long that journey is, no longer how long that trip is, we're gonna take it. And you
Right.
had your partner. So you
Right.
didn't take your trip by yourself. You see how I'm
No,
doing this, Shalon? I love your smile. I love your smile, Queen.
Full
I'm
circle,
just saying,
Tristan.
like, so it's truly amazing. It's truly amazing. Like I said, I love the fact that you've just been sharing your nuggets. This is a small part of your experience,
Right.
and I really want to hear more. Don't ask me what the more is, but I'm to the point where I just want to listen. I feel, if I'm not mistaken, you might be an artist and or author.
I
Am I
am
close?
I'm a poet, and I'm working on my book with the model that I have developed, focusing on taking ownership, that a lot of people have benefited from, and so I just can't wait. Hopefully by September, October is when I should be finished. So hopefully that will be out. So I can't wait, because my next step for me is, because that thing about entrepreneurship, I think too, we have to we have our somebody might say heart to the pulse, so be sensing when it's time to, as you talk about, shift or we evolve. I'm an expert at what I do. I'm really damn good at what I do in doing one-on-one or couples or family therapy. I want to now be challenged to spread what I'm doing on a larger scale. I want to be able to do
Mhm.
more of working with businesses and working with larger audience. So creating workshops and trainings, maybe even online schooling, to reach more people. Because right now, doing this the way that I'm doing it, it can be very stressful. With the amount of people that I have to see to continue making having the success that I'm having now. And I want to be able to spend more time doing other things that I enjoy doing, and I have to find another way to pivot, to still live out my passion, and doing it differently, where I can continue to enjoy what I'm doing.
And that's what
So,
happens when you recognize real.
yeah, so Warren, as you pivot from being a individual doing that one-on-one or those group trainings to expanding and sharing your knowledge on a larger scale, we want you to come back
Yes, for sure.
and share, especially when you drop that book. I want you
Yes.
to come back and share. And we are going to talk offline about potential partnership opportunities because, that's what
Okay.
entrepreneurs do. How can
Yeah.
we help each other grow and expand
Yes, Queen.
what it is that we're doing? Not to trip over you, Tristan, but I wanted to give Chris an opportunity to chime in before we start to bring this podcast episode to a close. Anything that resonated with you, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest underlying thread that I heard through this conversation with Warren's story here is that Warren has, from the start, before he even opened the doors to his business, figured out what his personal purpose was, his personal business plan in terms of who he is and who he wants to be, and what he wants his life to look like. And Warren, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like your business, your entrepreneurial journey is really meant to supplement who you are and who you want to be, because were already writing those emails, and your other job as an administrative assistant. Things that you would have done as a business owner, but you were already just doing it, building that human capital, that social capital, just because that's who you are. So,
That's
and Tristan, you mentioned that, when Warren talked about kind of the failure, the failing forward as an entrepreneur, realizing that time to pivot. I feel like if you align your business, your entrepreneurial goals with who you want to be, and who your character is, and who you want to be from an integrity standpoint, that the business parts are kind of that they can fail, or they can go off course at times, because as long as you're staying true to your own compass, and Warren, you spoke to your heart and your passion, if that's leading the way, then your business endeavors are ultimately going to find a way to fulfill that need, and to fulfill who you want to be. So I just want to let people know that because it was one of the biggest pieces of advice in my entrepreneurial journey before I opened my doors. I met with a local business owner here in Orlando, and I was like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to work for anybody else anymore, but I don't know what I want to do. And his advice to me was, well, if you haven't figured out what you want to do yet, figure out who you want to be first, and what you want your life to look like. And then work backwards to figure out what kind of business is going to get you to that point.
I love that. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. And it's learning to live from that space and being true, living with integrity and being true to myself. It's not, again, not just for business, it's personal. And I want my kids to be able to witness that and see that. Even like some people, a lot of successful people, they're successful in public, but at home their lives are miserable, and
Yeah.
they don't treat their family right, and whether it be business owners or pastors or whatnot. And I didn't want that. I want what my kids saw out there, they were witnessing it at home as well. And so I think that level of integrity, as you were talking about, Chris, to have your business be an expression of who you are,
Mm.
it makes it easier to go through the challenges that you go through. But you also have to be mindful to not personalize if the business is failing or if the business has failed, it doesn't mean you have failed. It just probably means there's another way, as Tristan, you said, there's another way to do this. And so to learn from the failures, that failures, and how I tell some of my clients that failure is not your enemy. Struggles, pain, suffering is not your enemy. When you walk in your authority of who you are and your core, your pain, your misery, your struggle is meant to serve you. But if you don't walk in your authority, you will begin to serve your emotions and your ego, and they will dictate how you live your life.
What? Warren?
That was awesome.
Oh my gosh. King Warren, my Crucian brother,
Yes, I.
we need to have you back. This time just gone too fast. This conversation was just too short. So
Hey, Mary.
we gonna have you back. We gonna have you back. You have so much knowledge to share, and your perspective is just, you know what? It's true to your brand. I just feel good. You guys feel good? I just feel
Yeah.
good. Like I just got a
Great.
virtual hug from King Warren from this conversation.
Yes.
For real. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Listen,
you're welcome.
guys, this wraps up another conversation of the Entrepreneur's Trip. We want to thank King Warren, our Crucian brother, our team, collaborators, and especially you, our listeners, for making this trip possible. Visit our website, theentrepreneurs.trip.com, and subscribe to receive your blogs today. Until our next trip, be well and take care.